Okay, Suyini, now we are live right now. Not live like people are watching, but I'm recording it right now, okay? So everything that you say is being recorded.
Okay, no problem.
Now, okay, because you said I should call you and then maybe we could speak about the slavery issue. That is why I was calling.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen a lot of writing after your post. A lot of people have responded. So there's a little bit confusion. I think the whole thing is completely misunderstanding, but I want to clarify something first before we go further. Just give me a couple of minutes. Is that what I want to clarify is that, you know, our history, the history of Africa is not written, but is oral, is passed from generation to generation. And there is a system in which the history is being passed down. Let's say in the north, we have, for example, something that is called the Lunsi. The Lunsi, they play the drums, and they will actually recite you all the history. And I do believe it's so with many African societies. So be sure that the history, the oral history we have, is as good as the written one that the Europeans have and the Arabs have. So that is the first thing I want to clarify before we go further. You see, when it comes to slavery, I don't have time, so I'll just try to be quick. When it comes to slavery, it's a bit complex history behind it. You see, the African slavery started with the Arabs.
Okay.
The Arabs, yes, the Arabs were the one who were doing the enslavement of the Africans.
Can you give us around what year or century? Use century because I'm good in around what century was that?
The Arabs occupied or invaded Egypt in I think it's 641, 646. Okay. Somewhere there, you can check.
So around 6th century. So when Islam came, around 6th to 7th century, between 6th and 7th century. Yes. Okay.
Correct. So they will, or let's just say the 7th century. So they actually were the one who started the African slave trade long before the Europeans. And what basically happened was that when they came in, they converted the Africans, especially the Barbara population of North Africa, became Muslims. And these are the very Africans who were now Muslims who were aiding to enslave Africans. Because the Barbara population were already very familiar with the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire, because they did business, so they were familiar. So they used that connection and did what? And went ahead to aid the enslavement and the selling of Africans. Unfortunately, you also have in East Africa, you had some Africans who also converted, also some of the kings who were bought, they became very friendly and they aided this slave trade. And that happened before the Europeans came. Remember when the Portuguese came in the 14th century?
Okay, Suyini, please. You see now, I'm trying to learn too. I'm trying to learn. It's not like I'm trying to tarnish the image of African something. Okay, but the message people are saying before the Europeans came, we Africans we already knew our ancestors knew good and bad, and the Europeans they came in the 14th century. So from the 7th century to the 14th century, there was slavery going on, which has nothing to do with the Christians, nothing to do with Europeans. And our kings were involved, right? Not the Europeans came to bring the slavery to Africa. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I'm just giving you the background so that
but I want people to understand it too, because they are saying our ancestors, they knew good and bad, and it is the Europeans.
Yes, they did. They did thousands of years before there was even any Christian on earth.
No. You see now, you just said slavery entered into Africa in the 6th century, or in, let's say, in the 7th century. You see, every century is 100 years. From the 7th century to the 14th century, 15th century. At the end of 15th century, that is when slavery started, the European slavery started coming to Africa. Do you know how many years? From 7th to 14th century. So the slavery was already something economical system in Africa before the Europeans came. I am not saying what the Europeans,
that is true.
Whatever the Europeans came to do is justifiable. It is good or not. That is horrible. No, I'm not justifying it. But the mentality that people are telling us today, that the Europeans didn't, before the Europeans came, as if our people were not already into slavery. You see?
No. Don't misunderstand me or don't misquote me. What I'm trying to tell you is that or what we are actually saying is that the religion, both two religions.
No, that is not what CSF says. CSF is saying Europeans brought the Bible and they came to enslave us with the Bible. When they came,
if you let me speak, I will get to that point.
Okay.
You are talking to, because I just wanted to give you background.
Okay, I'm listening.
That's where it started. So I don't want to cut it off because the Arabs also did horrible things in Africa. So we should also keep that in mind. We shouldn't just say the Europeans because the Arabs started it first before the Europeans came in. So I wanted you to just get the background. But then when the Portuguese came, they didn't come, started enslaving people. They came to do business. They actually became friendly with many of the African societies, the kingdoms that was there. And those kingdoms had systems. And they knew that there was a creator long before there was any Christian on planet Earth. They knew what was bad and what was good long before there was any Christian on planet Earth. Okay? Now, when the Portuguese came, they became friendly. They were doing business. You know, in Africa itself, we had, slaves that were either captured in war or when you are in debt to someone, you can become a slave. But it was not a system where Africans sell Africans. That was never ever in the minds of Africa until the Arabs and the Europeans came. They taught them how to exchange slaves with goods. You understand?
I'm listening.
Yes. So this concept of selling or exchanging slaves with goods came with the Arabs and the Europe, and later on with the Europeans. And the same Europeans, they did the same thing as the Arabs, because when they came in, they also did what? They converted many Africans. They became very good friends with many of the kings, and even they went ahead and killed or exiled some of the kings. If you didn't do what they wanted, you either risk being killed or exiled. So they will put kings which are pseudo kings in place who will do what they wanted. And that's how they actually kept the Africans, they actually kept the slave kidnappings going. You understand? Remember, they built castles in Albina and so on with churches. They had a boat that was called Mariam, or Jesus and Mary and so on, which they carried the slaves with them to America. They went ahead and did what? They even came out with the slave Bible. So the slaves were not even allowed to read the Bible except the version that they wanted them to read so that they could keep them in bondage for eternity, right?
Okay, so now you see, you have made a conclusion. You see, this is what I don't understand. Okay, so you are saying our kings, our leaders, whom they say our ancestors, okay, at that time, they didn't know better, or what are they? Were they? I don't know even where to start. Okay,
the point is that
no, just let me try to make my case, because I want people to get my point too. I am not trying to justify any European slave or nothing. It is horrible, okay? But the fact that we want to say the Europeans, when they came, even though slavery was already existing like 500 years before they came, the Africans, because of tribalism, there were wars between us. There were wars, and Ashanti Kingdom will be fighting with another tribe. And Ashanti Kingdom will never capture an Ashanti man as a slave or as a captive. They will capture maybe, let's say, a Fanti person. But when he captures the Fanti person, he was able to sell him because he was not Ashanti. There was a division already there before these people came. And the kings, wait, let me finish my statement too, okay? Kings wanted to gain power. They wanted to gain territory. They wanted to expand themselves. So there was always the way, looking for ways and means. The white people came, the white people who came to Africa, they only saw an advantage. How can, we can use this and we will gain this. So they started producing weapons for some people who can use it in their war, just like that, let's say the Taliban are doing. You see, they can sell oil for governments and they will get weapons so that they can defend themselves or they can fight against people. So these kings, they are not that innocent. We have to be honest with ourselves. They were just looking for their power to control people. So in order to do that, they also sold people in order to gain power, gain weapons, guns and stuff like this from the Europeans so that they can also protect or gain more control. But we are trying to deny all these things and look and see it as if it is the Europeans who came and the Europeans were preaching the Bible. You see, as I have now understood, the Bible was preached to those who were already captured for them to remain in the mentality. You see, they use this slave Bible, as you mentioned, the captured ones. They have to be programmed.
That was in America. That slave Bible was in America, not in Africa.
Yeah, but they brought it. That is what they used. They used. You see, if they capture them in the castle, now they put them in the castle. They start to they have to program them. They have to program them in a way that without the chains, they will still be mentally unable to maybe defend themselves. So that is when they will use that manipulated Bible to manipulate them. You see now, so these people probably knew the Bible. They probably heard the Bible. They knew there was God, there was a Bible. But after they were being captured, now they were using the manipulated Bible to manipulate them, trying to show them things that they didn't know because maybe they were hearing the Bible from the missionaries per saying, like you just said, orally. You see, so the captured ones, they were the ones being programmed. And since they became so many, and they were gaining more power, and maybe now we think that it was only them who brought the Bible there. But the Bible, maybe the original, the good gospel was there already. We don't know. Because Christianity. No, let me finish this. Christianity was there before Islam. You see, Christianity existed before Islam. And you are saying in the 6th century, Islam entered into Africa. So how do you know Christianity never entered into Africa before the 6th century?
No. Christianity, if you are asking, this is history, documented history.
Okay.
Christianity was already in North Africa and Ethiopia. It was already there from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th century. Christianity was already in place. That is the Coptic Church of Egypt. Yeah, and the Coptic Church of or the Tawhido Church of Ethiopia. Those churches have been there for what do you call it? For the almost from the very beginning. So Christianity was in particular North Africa.
Only in North Africa, you think?
Yeah, and what do you call it? Ethiopia. It was there, yes.
So how do you know Christianity? Because Christianity's mission was to spread the gospel. So they were spreading. So if
but they did it. The first people, the first Europeans that came all the way down.
But in that century, what do you mean? Which European? You see now the Christianity that was in Africa. How do you know?
No, the Portuguese were the first Europeans that came all the way down to the West Coast. They were the one who introduced Christianity to our ancestors. Yes.
And you have a reference for this?
Yeah, it's very simple, Seto. Just go to your on computer Yes, right. When the Portuguese first arrived
Not
in Africa.
Portuguese. You see now, Islam, which came 600 years later after Christianity, was able to enter into Africa, and then after Islam entered into Africa, I don't know wherever it was, but that between the Islam 7th century and the 14th or 15th century, let's count it, okay, 7th century, 8th century, 9th century, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. That is 700 years later before the Portuguese came. And you think from the first century, even though Christianity was in Africa before Islam even came, from the first century till the 14th century, there was no Christianity in Ghana, nowhere in Africa apart from the Europe, apart from the north. This is unimaginable.
No. Listen to me. Yes, be real, okay? Yes, be real. You see, in Ghana, you have many different tribes. Until date, we still keep the tradition in place, the culture in place. And there's no point in time before the Europeans where our ancestors had a different religion than Islam. That was in all the way to Mali, because they captured the Arabs basically invaded the Mali Empire and destroyed it. So that's how Islam came all the way down, even to reach Ghana. But then you have the Europeans, which we know that came to West Coast in the 14th century, and that started with the Portuguese. There was not a single European in that part of Africa till the 14th century. At least not what is documented, is written documented, and that is what even our oral tradition tell us, that the Europeans came during that period. And you cannot even deny it. You can just check
I don't deny that. I don't deny that, Suyini. The point that you are missing right now is, okay, you see, you said Christianity was in Africa already. It was in Ethiopia.
Yeah,
it was in Africa.
In North Africa.
Wait, okay. So there is a main possibility, there is a good probability, big chance that it don't have to be the Europeans who brought Christianity, because the one that they brought is a manipulated book. They manipulated it. So before they came to bring, before they came to bring whatever they brought, they knew that these people know this thing. Okay, so we have to go and inform them, and we misinform them. That is why they didn't bring the original Bible, because they know that.
Have you ever read the head of the letter of King Leopold of Belgium?
I have read it. I've read. Yes.
You've heard it, or you've read it?
I have heard it. I have read it a little bit. Ben Moshe read it for us before.
Yeah. So do you think the Congolese knew Christianity before King Leopold sent his missionaries?
It could be. That is what I'm saying. It could be.
No, but according to the letter, it didn't. There's no any evidence according to the letter that our ancestors knew anything about because the letter says that those people knew God before, and they did what? They have their shrines and so on and so forth. So don't teach them, don't preach God to them, because they already knew God. So tell them, teach them how to become slaves, right? I'm just paraphrasing. I'm not reading from but that is the idea, that they should teach, especially the kids were taught Christianity, because they already, when they came, they found a system in place, a priesthood. So in Africa, even till date, many of our societies in Africa, we still have the priesthood, where when even the king want to do something, they have to go and talk to the priest. It can be a man or a woman, like the Yoruba. No, sorry, the Hausas. The Hausas have actually abandoned their Buri culture. Before the Hausas became Muslims, they had a system which was called the Buri or Muzungi. And their priests were always a woman. You understand? So in Africa, most of the societies, we had priesthood, and they will go for the oracles to do what? To ask if there's a problem, and the king will have to even consult the priesthood. In the north, we call them Tandana, because they are the people who know the history, who know the culture, who know what to do when there's a problem. You understand? So we already had systems in place long before. And even if you forget that, just go back to, have you heard of the Egyptian Book of the Dead before?
I've heard of it before.
And there's 42 laws of Ma'at.
I don't know them. I have only heard of the book, okay, but I never read the book, or I don't.
Yeah. So check the 42 laws of Ma'at, which are the negative connotation of what do you call it? It's actually this 10 commandment or whatever of Moses actually derived from the 42 laws of Ma'at. So those people already knew God and what is good and bad.
Oh, okay. You see now. So let's say even if let's say that what you are saying is true. Okay, they knew what is good and what is bad. Okay, so how come they then accepted the bad? Explain this to me.
They did accept the bad. What do you mean by they accept the bad?
Now they started selling people. When the people came with the evil.
Don't general. I'll tell you something. You
No,
know.
because you are also general. You see now, it is the same thing. Some people came, bad people came with a book, manipulated book to deceive people. Now you generalize it. You say the Christians, they brought it. Not all the missionaries who came to Africa did that. You cannot guarantee that all the missionaries who came to Africa did that. You cannot guarantee that. But we generalize it.
Seto.
Yes?
Yeah, listen. In African societies, the kings and the priesthood, they did not have in their system where you kidnap people and sell them to others. You understand?
I don't understand. Even you see now, Suini, before you started speaking, you told us that our history is not even written. Okay, now you are giving me so much.
Oral.
What?
It's oral.
It's oral, yeah. So now, how do I know? Because what I am reading, according to what the sources that we have on the internet right now, which is dedicated to our forefathers, it is not telling me what you are telling me. You are trying to make it seem.
It's written by who? Those what you are reading.
So the same thing. I can ask you the same thing. You see, the sources that you are using, it is written by who? Was it written by the Africans?
It's our ancestors. Yes.
No. Let's say the King Leopold letter. Who wrote it?
King Leopold.
That one you accepted, right?
But he wrote it.
Yeah. So the history. So the history which is online, which we can read, you don't accept it. But the one you found on the internet.
Who told you I don't accept? Who told you I don't accept?
But you are asking me who wrote it, so it is not credible. It's like somebody is trying to tell you.
No. Listen, Seto, don't misunderstand. Try to keep track, okay? The written history that we have, they will write the history with the lens that they have to write the history. So the winners write the history, and they are victorious. So if you are reading the history on the point view of the victors, of course, is never going to benefit the guy who
you see this logic, then we can never trust any history, nothing we read, because we will say the one wrote it, the one who wrote it in his lens. So history is actually a friction. Everything that we will read,
but you don't. No, so you don't know that history is subjective. That when I'm writing the history, I write it from my point of view.
So then, that means what you are telling me, that our kings, they couldn't do nothing. It is your point of view. You are trying to give me your history from your point of view. Try to defend the kings that they couldn't do anything. It is the Europeans' fault. That is your point of view then too.
Where did I say that they couldn't do anything?
Because you were saying the kings.
When they came.
No, let me show you where you said it. You said it before. The Europeans, they will kill even every king who tried to go against them, and they will put their own.
That is true, yes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you are trying to say the kings they were not able to defend themselves. So many
did, Seto, many did.
Where can we find this? Where can we find that many kings stood and fought?
Yeah, because I would advise you to read some of the history of the tribes in Africa. Let's say
who wrote it?
The history?
Yeah, the one that you are trying to recommend me right now to go and learn. Who wrote it?
It's written by African scholars, but they have actually taken the oral. You have the European written history, and then they will also have the oral one and compare. I have some books. If you want, there is UNESCO that have actually compiled about 6 volumes. That is the history of Africa. I can recommend you buy those volumes and read. You find everything.
You see now the logic that you are using for me, that the winner, if the winner writes the history, he will write it in his lenses. That is what you are giving to. You are saying to me.
But you didn't know, Seto. I'm surprised that you don't know.
No. Even if I knew, okay. But now you said I should go and read another history book, and then how do I know?
I'm just telling you because it seems you don't have much understanding of the history. So I'm telling you, if you want.
The point here is how would I be sure that those who wrote this book, the black African or the black scholars who wrote this book, they did not write it in their point of view, their lenses? How can I be sure? Because that's what you are saying.
Of course, they will write it in the point of view of the Africa, where the Africans stand.
So it could be also lies in it, right? It could be they are trying to defend Africa. They are trying to say the kings. Yes.
Seto. Between me and you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, who do you think I will trust most?
Between me and you and your brother?
Yeah, who do you think I will trust most?
Your brother? Okay.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean your brother cannot lie.
No, listen, here we are not talking of someone lying.
Okay, but now, so what it is irrelevant then. But because the logic, I'm trying to apply your same logic, the logic that you are using to judge the logic that you are using to judge the book, the source that I am reading, you are saying who wrote it, and because what I am reading, you are saying who wrote it. It could be that somebody who wants me to see something in a different way wrote it.
No. Seto, then then you have misunderstood the whole point. What I'm trying to tell you is that the history that you are reading about Africa on the net, okay?
Yes.
It's written by the Europeans. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything is wrong, but they are writing it with the point view of the European. You understand?
Okay.
So if you read it, and then you now have an alternative, which is the same history, but from the point of view of the African, then you will have much better understanding than just reading what the Europeans write, and then you pass judgment.
Okay.
Because I mean taking your Bible, and then I quote just one single
okay, I get your point. I get your point. So you are like saying I shouldn't read it from only one side. I should read it from the one. Okay, I get your point. Okay. So what I read, till now, it was about the kings. They found a way to get guns and some weapons for them to fight their wars. So they used to exchange people for these kind of material things. Are you saying there is nothing like this which happened? They didn't do barter trading, exchanging human beings for guns or for some things like this?
Yeah, I think I've already said that, Seto, that our ancestors didn't know how to exchange goods with slaves until the arrival of the Arabs and the Europeans.
No, but I'm speaking about the time. You see, don't compare the Arabs. They came. They were in Africa 600 years. Many years before the Europeans came. So when the Europeans came, the Africans, they knew, the kings, at least those who were in power, they already knew what to do. You cannot say that the Africans, because the time difference between the Muslims or Islam, which entered into Africa, so the Europeans came, the people who were in power, who knew about slaves, they must be master, they must be professionals already. When the European came, the kings who saw opportunity how to gain, they know the Europeans brought something, so that, and they saw that, okay, we can use this thing in our benefit. And the Europeans today, they don't come for they don't come with empty-handed, or they have agenda. So they brought their agenda, and they gained what they wanted, and they gave you what you want. It is a trading. But you are now trying to, not even you, everybody is trying to pretend like, just like they knew nothing about it. They were all...
No one is telling you. I've never said that it didn't happen. I think listen to me. This is what happened. They came in, the Portuguese, let's say when they came to Ghana, right? They didn't come kidnapping people. They came doing trade. And they did that for a very, very, very long time, before even the idea of exchanging goods with slaves.
But so when they were doing this trading, slavery was still in Africa, right?
What do you mean by slavery was in Africa?
Yeah, because already Islam has already brought slavery, and people were being kidnapped and being sold. It was like there was no slavery. It's like it's not like the kings and queens at that time, before the Europeans came, they didn't know anything about slave. You cannot tell me that they didn't know anything about slave. They knew it.
Yeah. Listen, even before the Europeans, even the Arabs came, right?
Yes.
In Africa, the people, because the kings will actually conquer territories, and it happens that they take slaves.
Of course, it's true. I read that too. I read that too today, because I'm reading too.
Listen to me. Or you can be in debt, and then you can actually become a slave for someone, and then you work and pay the debt.
Okay.
They had that system, but they never ever had a system where they will exchange. They will they will take a slave and sell, or exchange it with goods. They didn't have that. Even listen, my family, I'm old enough to even know that within my family we have a family member who's today majority don't know that his forefathers was a slave, and our great grandfather gave him his daughter and gave him a land.
Okay.
And this guy was a slave. You understand?
I get your point, but you see the same thing that you just said, that some people used to go into debt. They were debt, and they will go into slavery,
it can happen, yes,
to pay for their debt or something like this.
Yeah.
But you see now, and that is exactly the same thing that I said. That is what the Bible gives regulations to. Somebody going.
The Bible.
Wait. Let me finish. Let me finish. You see now, you are saying in our system, that is what you are in our system. There was a time when somebody owns debt. He owns somebody. He cannot pay. He cannot afford to pay. He can sell himself into slavery for the person. He can go into slavery, the person, to pay his debt. After the debt is done, he can go free, right?
Yeah.
And that is what the Bible gave regulations for such a slavery. Somebody who owns somebody who cannot afford to survive, you can bring yourself into slavery, but that doesn't mean the person owns you and he can kidnap you, beat you, and harm you, whatever, however. So the same thing you are telling me our ancestors were doing.
Listen, Seto. The Bible, I don't have access to internet where I am. But the Bible, remember, always keep in mind, you have laws that govern slavery among the Israelites. And then you have laws that govern slavery among non-Israelites. So you have to keep those two things separate.
Okay. And the laws that govern against non-Israelites didn't state that you can harm you if the non-Israelite comes and sell himself or herself to you because he owns you, or because he don't have anything and he wants to come and save you so that he will survive. No law in the whole Bible tells you, an Israelite, you can maltreat the non-Israelite for free. It doesn't say that. It even says if you hit him and he die, you will pay. Your life will be paid. You will be punished. You will be killed too. So there is protection. So you see now, according to the Bible protected those who are bringing themselves into this kind of labor, into this kind of slavery. It is not supporting.
No, I'm telling you, those laws, I think you have to, I just don't have access, but so I don't want to talk too much so that you ask me, I cannot answer.
Trust me, Sweeney, trust me, there is nothing there. You see, the laws, there are laws which goes for the Israelites, yes, and there are laws which goes for the non-Israelites. The non-Israelites, it doesn't say the slave master can harm them and they'll go for free. It doesn't say even if they hurt them, they break their tooth. Almost saying the tooth breaks, the slave can go free. The debt is over.
No, that I don't think that apply to non-Jews.
That is what I'm saying. It applies to non-Jews, and I can swear on this.
No, there is some one or two verses, but just that I will not say something that I will not be able to prove right now. So I'll just leave it aside.
But Sweeney, I said it is for the non-Israelites. Even if an Israelite, the non-Israel the Gentiles, he comes into slavery, which that time the slavery was the one that you just said. Somebody who owns debt, he will come and sell himself. Okay, so that I can pay my debt. That was the kind of slavery the Bible gave regulations to. The Bible doesn't mean Bible supports it, but if it's the system which some people.
Setu, what I don't understand with you.
But Suyini, because I'm very grateful that you are getting time for me. Okay, so my point here is okay. Some people say we should go back to our ancestors. We should go back to our ancestors. That is what they are using to manipulate many people. Okay, so if we go back to our ancestors, and to do what? So to worship or to what is the main purpose when we go back to our ancestors? Because our ancestors were there. They were there.
Yeah.
So yes, let me finish this statement because you see, the CSF people, I'm just making a quotation mark, okay, with the CSF people, okay, they say, okay, Jesus is nobody, Jesus cannot do anything, he cannot even save you. Why can't you pray so that this will happen if Jesus is true? So with the same logic, if I use the same mentality to judge people who believe in our culture, in our ancestors, so why were they not able to protect themselves, the ancestors to protect themselves? Why not? Can you answer that too?
Yes, I can answer. Your question is why the gods of our ancestors didn't help them, right?
Yes, just like they say, because some few days ago, some people, Muslims, went to attack Christians in a church and killed a bunch of people. And then people, instead of people to criticize the bad people, they are now laughing at Jesus. They say Jesus cannot do anything. That is what people are really thinking. Instead of people to see that there are evil people out there doing harming people who are doing their own thing, nobody is questioning them. They are always happy. Jesus couldn't even save them. Now, the same question, if our ancestors are to be trusted, or if the gods or whatever they had, okay, are to be trusted, how come they couldn't also help them?
Yeah, it's a good question, but a very simple answer to it is that man help himself. Period. Man help himself. So you rely on nobody except yourself, Setu. I rely on nobody except me, and I don't trust anyone to defend me, not God. Right? I will the Israelites. They have most people are worshiping the God of Israel. They have missiles and start rockets to defend themselves. They don't call upon Yahweh. So why do we have to depend on them? You don't depend on any God to defend you. There's not a single thing on planet Earth that happens without the human being involved.
So are you saying those people who are saying where was Jesus? Because the Bible also teaches us you should protect yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So when these people they are making such an argument, like where was Jesus, and then this happened, where was your God? Where was your God? And we reverse it. I reverse it and put it on them too. am I being silly for doing that, or it is legit for me to question you too? You said we should go back to our ancestors. Our ancestors
Yeah,
were
but when you say we should go back to ancestors, I know many people don't understand. They think that you should leave everything you are doing now, and then you go back and live like the 12th century. That is not what the whole thing is about.
No, that I know. Okay, yeah. Yes, I know that that's not what about. But you see now, people are worshiping right now, and you are saying their worship is not necessary. We should go back to our ancestors. So when we go back, we have to worship. Even if we can upgrade ourselves. We don't have to go and we can use blender. Okay, we can use stove. Because we have upgraded ourselves. But I'm speaking about the God part, the worshiping part. How are we going to worship when we say we go back to our ancestors? And who is this God? And who is the God? And how are these God going to protect us?
The creator, our ancestors in Ashanti, you have Nyakumpo, isn't it?
It's a name. It's a name identifier. Yeah, it is a name. But how do we worship Nyankopon? How do we worship Nyankopon according to the Ashanti people? Can you tell me?
No, I think you pour libation. I'll not.
But where did they get this idea that we have to pour libation for Nyankopon?
I can tell you, listen. I can tell you what we do. Let's say I'm Mampuzi or the Womba. I can tell you what we do in the north. It's the same.
Okay, but okay, Sweeney, tell me what you do in the north, and let me know how you knew that this is how you should worship God according to the north. Where did we get the knowledge? This idea that this is how to worship Nyankopon in the north. Can you tell me?
We have what we call a priesthood. Let me just repeat again. This is oral, right? So keep that in mind. So now the priesthood that we have in place, they have the history. They can tell you everything from A to Z, what you should do and what you should not do. If you want, let's say if I have a problem and I want it solved, I go to the priesthood. They will look at the oracles and tell me what to do. Maybe they tell me to bring a fowl, and then I'll take the fowl with them, with me, and then they will do what? They will do all the whatever is necessary, and then they slaughter the fowl. Or even sometimes, let's say if it's not raining, they have a way of performing prayers or whatever it is, and we get rain. They have all that in place. You understand?
Yeah, I understand you, Sweeney, but that wasn't my question. I said, how did we know? Where did we get the idea? Are you saying Onyankopon spoke to somebody like a prophet, you see, and then gave him the direction, what I want from you, what I am expecting from you? You have to pour me libation. If somebody does this, you have to slaughter a cow or a fowl or whatever. Where did you have this idea how to worship Nyankopon? That's what I want to know.
Seto.
Yes.
The idea of a creator is what do you call it? Is the need for we human beings to do what? To have something greater to rely on. Right?
Okay.
We before, let's say thousands of years ago, our ancestors, including the white and the Arabs, the whole world, they could see the sun, they could see the moon, they could see the rain, but they didn't have the understanding of what we have today. So they thought that there is overall a creator who created everything, but he has what? Smaller God for rain, right?
No, not right. Sweeney. You see, if I believe there is a creator God, if I see, I believe, I cannot come to the conclusion that there is also smaller gods. Where did I get this conclusion that there is also smaller gods?
But that is the system we have.
I know, I understand. But where did we get this system from?
Do you know, Isato, do you know even Judaism, to start with, originate from that system? You know that?
Yeah, but Sweeney, that you don't get the point. I even if it is there, How do they know? How did they get revelation? Did they get a prophet? Something. I want something. You see, I know that we human beings, we imitate. That is the point.
We don't need Seto, we don't need any prophet. I'll tell
yeah,
you.
But how do we know that this is Nyankopon?
Wait, I'll explain something to you. We human beings, all, including you yourself,
yes,
you have the ability to communicate, to get revelation from your what do you call it, the divine, because we human beings, we are divine. We are what do you call it, divine beings. So even you,
according to who?
According to our system.
Yeah, but you see you always come back to our system. Who gave this system? That is what I'm trying. You see now,
our ancestors.
But where did they get it from? That is I'm trying to ask you. The first person who got this revelation, or who gave this knowledge, who gave it on? The one who gave it on that there is a creator God, and there is smaller God, and then we are divine, and all these things.
They saw Seto, our system of worship it has with nature to do, right? When our ancestors look at nature, they understood the nature, how it should be and what they should do. So they actually acted upon the experience they have with nature. That is what is passed down to us. You don't need any prophet to tell you that you can actually, even you yourself is a prophet.
So you see, that's what you are telling me. That is what you are telling me, okay? But I get, it's not like I am attacking our belief, our ancestors and traditional belief. I am trying to be realistic here, because the same question.
Even Judaism and Christianity, that is their origins.
Yeah, okay. You see, when it comes to Judaism or when it comes to Christianity, they believe in a book. Wait, you see, when it comes to Christianity, we believe in a book, and the book is telling us this is what God wants from us, and this is what we should do.
But no, listen. It originated from polytheism, all the religions without exception.
That is what you believe. I get your point.
No, it's not what I believe.
No, but you cannot say this for a fact because you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because you yourself.
You know what, Seto? I think we have to talk again. But it has to be in the evening. I will give you. Have you heard of the what do you call it? What is the name of this Bible? There is another Bible that was discovered. What is it again?
Okay, so I have to go now. Okay, I have to go now. My time is up anyway. So let's end the conversation here. But I won't be able to come live personally. Maybe this evening, because I'm going to work and I'll close around 8 something. Okay, till
maybe
I get
tomorrow.
So maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah,
okay.
I will. Yeah, I want to actually give you proofs that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all started with polytheism. So there's not a single religion on planet Earth that have the concept of just one God.
Okay, we can talk about this, but what about our traditional belief, traditional culture? Is it also paganism? Is it from pagan or something?
No, you say paganism. It's not paganism. That is our system, and we are proud of it.
So wait.
Polytheism. It's polytheism.
Polytheism. Okay, polytheism.
The religions. Yeah,
okay, I get the point.
That is the origins of all religions.
Okay, I get the point. Okay, so I have to end the conversation. I have to go now. Okay, but because I appreciate the conversation. Okay, so let's just end it here and we speak next time.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay. That was Suini, okay, Suini. And then this conversation, okay, it's not like Seto SSK, I am attacking our ancestors or anything like this. But I want things to be clear. The questions that people ask other religion, we have to be able to also question other religions too. You are an atheist, we can question you. A Muslim, we can question you. A traditional believer, we can question you. We have to be objective. We have to open our eyes and question, okay? And as I'm saying, slavery was there in Africa before the Europeans came. It is a lie. to tell us it is the Europeans who brought slavery in Africa. They didn't even know much about slavery till they came to Africa and they found opportunity. They found the ways they can also use to harm.
Before we lose the concentration of our listeners,
With this message,
I would like to make the following statement and then prove it. That the worst, most inhumane and most diabolical institution of the black African slave trade was initiated, refined, perpetrated and implemented by the Mohammedan Arabs and later aided and abetted by the black converts to Mohammedan Islam. I predict that, as usual, the two subcultures, those of denial of facts and of political correctness, will attack us without once disproving a single statement and or conclusion that we make. Slavery was not created by the white races, because it has existed throughout a human history and practiced by every tribe, culture, civilization, racial group, and religion. In fact, the very word slavery has its root in the name Slav, based upon the Slavic peoples of Europe who were subjugated by other Europeans. It is not common knowledge that the Arabic word abd is synonymous with the meaning of slave. For example, Abdullah means literally the slave of Allah, and that in the language of the Arabs, all black peoples are called abid, plural, for slaves. While much has been written concerning the transatlantic slave trade, surprisingly little attention has been paid to the Islamic slave trade across the Sahara, the Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean. While the European involvement in the African transatlantic slave trade to the Americas lasted for just over 3 centuries, the Arab involvement in the African slave trade has lasted 14 centuries, and in some parts of the Mohammedan world is still continuing to this day. The birth of Mohammedan Islam and its conquests brought about the birth of institutionalized, systematized, and religiously sanctioned slave trade on a massive and global scale. In fact, the Quran allows the taking of slaves as booty or reward for wars of aggression against any and all unbelievers, most of the human population. This has led to an enormous number of so-called holy wars, jihad in Arabic. There was and is absolutely nothing holy about these wars, which are primarily to plunder, slaughter, rape, subjugate, and rob other human beings of their wealth, produce, freedom, and dignity. Mohammedan Muslim states and tribes attacked other non-Muslim groups to achieve these objectives. Although Islamic jurisprudence laid down regulations for the treatment of slaves, however, incredible and heinous abuses have occurred throughout the history of Mohammedan Islam. By the Middle Ages, the Arabic word abd was in general used to denote a black slave, while the word mamluk referred to a white slave. Ibn Khaldun, 1332 to 1406, the preeminent Islamic medieval historian and social thinker, wrote, "The Negro nations are, as a rule, submissive to slavery, because they have attributes that are quite similar to dumb animals." It should also be noted that black slaves were castrated based on the assumption that the blacks had an ungovernable sexual appetite. When the Fatimid Caliphate came to power in Egypt, they slaughtered all the tens of thousands of black military slaves and raised an entirely new slave army. Some of these slaves were conscripted into the army at age 10. From Persia to Egypt to Morocco, slave armies from 30,000 to up to 250,000 became commonplace. The Islamic slave trade took place across the Sahara Desert, from the coast of the Red Sea, and from East Africa across the Indian Ocean. The Trans-Sahara trade was conducted along 6 major slave routes. Just in the 19th century, for which we have more accurate records, 1.2 million slaves were brought across the Sahara into the Middle East, as well as a further 450,000 down the Red Sea and 442,000 from the East African coastal ports. That is a total of 2 million black slaves just in the 1800s. At least 8 million more were calculated to have died before reaching the Muslim slave markets. A comparison of the Islamic slave trade to the American slave trade reveals some extremely interesting contrasts. While 2 out of every 3 slaves shipped across the Atlantic were men, the proportions were reversed in the Islamic slave trade. 2 women for every man were enslaved by the Muslims. While the mortality rate of slaves being transported across the Atlantic was as high as 10%, the percentage of slaves dying in transit in the Trans-Sahara and East African slave market was a staggering 80 to 90%. While almost all the slaves shipped across the Atlantic were for agricultural work, most of the slaves destined for the Muslim Middle East were for sexual exploitation as concubines, in harems, and for military service. While many children were born to the slaves in the Americas, the millions of their descendants are citizens in Brazil and the United States today. Very few descendants of the slaves that ended up in the Middle East survive. While most slaves who went to the Americas could marry and have families, most of the male slaves destined for the Middle East were castrated, and most of the children born to the women were killed at birth. It is estimated that possibly as many as 11 million Africans were transported across the Atlantic, 95% of which went to South and Central America, mainly to Portuguese, Spanish, and French possessions. Only 5% of the slaves ended up in what we call the United States today. However, a minimum of 28 million Africans were enslaved in the Muslim Middle East. Since at least 80% of those captured by Muslim slave traders were calculated to have died before reaching the slave markets, it is believed that the death toll from 1400 years of Arab and Muslim slave raids into Africa could have been as high as 112 millions. When added to the number of those sold in the slave markets, the total number of African victims of the Trans-Saharan and East African slave trade could be significantly higher than 140 million people. What is obscene about this whole subject is the Mohammedan Muslim and Arab culture of denial regarding their complicity in the African slave trade, as well as the ignorance of black Muslims about the reality of their past and present conditions. The statistics and reports above are based upon the logbooks kept at the African slave ports, ship logs, travelers' reports, eyewitness accounts, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, the facts and reality of Mohammedan Islam's complicity in the slave trade and their inhuman depravity are infinitely more devastating, more staggering, and more incomprehensible than all the nightmare fictions in the world. In
Share for me, okay? Kindly share and invite people. We accept the truth wherever